about going to work each day.
I think we're very focused about how do we bring technology into the space that allows consumers to kind of go, wow, that's incredible. It allows me to do something that I previously thought I couldn't do with a mobile device, with a washing machine, with a refrigerator. And it's that relentless pursuit that we strive to portray and to have on the shelves of the stores in SA. It's 25 years in South Africa. That we can't do in isolation. And that's really been through the commitment of our trade partners and the generosity of the South African consumer here, who has embraced Samsung. They've adopted us in this country. We hope that we can walk another 25 years with South African consumers.
We do our TV production locally. Many people may not know that, but our 8K QLEDs are built in Durban. The fact that we have in Samsung the beauty of the mobile phone, which links to multi-device experience, which several competitors potentially don't have. So we have the ability to connect our product with our mobile interconnectivity and smart life. So the Internet of Things become a lot easier. So I'm very excited by that, and I think it puts us as Samsung in a fantastic position to have a very many good years ahead of us.
Powered by innovation, it's the practical applications of these amazing products which has us feeling love for the brand, making Cambridge Makonyane a very proud man.
So when you come to Power of South Africa, we're talking about how the people of this country love Samsung, because Samsung listens to the consumers, and that's why they vote us as the #1 brand by young people in Gen Z rewards. For 5 years, we've been voted as the most loved. The other innovation that is locally relevant as well is actually power of the A30S, which we launched recently. And to make it locally relevant, we worked with Caspar Nyovest, who helped us to integrate it within our culture into society, and particularly among the young people of South Africa.
When brands make like dope products like this that are affordable for people, you know, it's always a no-brainer for me to collaborate. We also have like special features there, like one of them is the alarm, which is my voice, but I used to feel like I was a nobody, and it's nice like these that just, you know, give me a pat on the back and say, you know, you've worked hard, and it's dope that we've come this far, and brands like this can recognize us and put us on a pedestal.
They always commit to putting the best innovation in each and every device, something that is long-lasting, something that is able to make your life as convenient as possible, and they've always stepped it up a notch each and every single year. So I think it's that commitment to quality that has always been something that is able to make South Africans' lives easier, but also something that South Africans can trust and find reliable, and that they can always know will never fail them.
With this kind of customer experience driven by innovation, Samsung will retain pride of place in the hearts and minds of South Africa.
Wow, I can just remember when it was all concept, but the Galaxy Fold is here, part of some power phones that Samsung have released this year. Awe-inspiring stuff, Quantum Leap Forward. So, buddy, I'm looking for a Quantum Leap Forward this morning with a cup of coffee. How do you, are you coffee, are you more of a tea man? Hey?
I'm more of a rooibos kind of guy, you know, tea guy, but Princess gave me a cappuccino earlier on, and it was fantastic.
She is good. She is that good.
She's
enticing you over to the dark roast side, man. But you can, if you don't mind, Princess, please give this man a coffee.
I'm converted now.
He's converted. He's got another big performance coming your way after the break. It's awesome to see a guy at the peak of his powers performing live, and he's going to be doing it just for you and for us as well. Best part of our job, live performance every morning. Don Vino on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. After this, we'll see you now.
Only the highest grade Arabica beans. McCafe, great coffee, simple. See you after the break.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's a Tuesday morning and it's so good to be in your company. Thanks for joining us. Now we're calling out all of the plant lovers out there, and especially those who'd like to start their indoor plant journey. Now buying plants for your home can be a daunting task. There are so many questions to ask, like what type of plants should you buy? Where do you put them in your home? How do you care for them? Well, look no further and put your indoor gardening gloves on, because in the studio we have Plantify head gardener Andreas Keller back with us again. Welcome. So good to have you with us to give us a bit more information on this indoor plant journey. And so if somebody out there is looking to start their indoor plant journey, either for their home or even for their office, if you want to be that employee, where do you start?
So it's good to be mindful of 4 spatial characteristics when kind of starting out in a space. And those are light, temperature, humidity, and airflow. So knowing something about that will guide your indoor plant journey.
Yeah.
Of course, plants also need water and fertilizer to be happy, but those you kind of give where they are based. You know, in essence, you want to recreate the environment in which the plant comes from.
Naturally.
Yeah.
That's how it would thrive best.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, you know, typically this might be, you know, these plants come from a jungle, so high humidity, medium to bright light, warm temperature would be perfect.
Okay, but that sounds like I need to have a whole lot of biological knowledge about where the plants come from and their entomology and their biological names. But okay, let's focus on these 4 factors you mentioned: light, humidity, temperature, and airflow. Do you have to consider them all at once, or is there a way of breaking it down systematically?
Yeah, we generally start with light, so that's really the easiest one. So generally there is, you know, bright indirect light, low light, but also direct sunlight.
Okay.
And knowing something about that will guide the choice of plant.
Yeah.
Now, there's an easy hack to figuring out the light conditions in a space, and that's really just using your shadow. So if you just kind of hold your hand over a surface and look at kind of the outline of the shadow.
Yes.
If it's fuzzy, then you know it's sort of on the lower light spectrum.
Yes.
If it's nice and clear and distinct, then you know it's bright light.
Yeah.
And it's fairly obvious to see if there's direct sunlight, so that'll give you an indication of, you know, the light conditions.
Okay, so that's one aspect. That is the light. What about the other factors?
So let's start with temperature. So generally speaking, there is no adjustment required for temperature. Because humans live in comfortable places.
Yeah.
Generally, they're fairly warm. So houseplants generally are fine in the conditions temperature
that we live in,
yeah.
And do they adjust as well seasonally? Because when it's summer, we might tend to switch on the aircon. When it's winter, we might crank up the heat a little bit. Do plants kind of acclimatize themselves as well according to the temperatures?
Totally. So there's definitely a band kind of like where plants are happy in. And those generally follow the kind of conditions that humans feel comfortable in.
Okay, good.
So that's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's light and temperature. Let's talk about the other hacks you have, and then also consider the other aspects, airflow and humidity being one of them.
Yeah.
2 of them.
So airflow is something to be mindful of because plants don't like rapid changes in temperature.
Okay.
So you want to be mindful not to place the plant in a space close to a window where there's like a cool draft coming through, or close to a door where there's like a gust of sort of warm air coming through. Maybe you're staying in a like warmer area.
Okay. So even if you're placing your plant at the window because it looks beautiful for display and it's getting direct sunlight because it needs it, your plant might be sensitive to the temperature fluctuations or the frequency of that temperature fluctuation. So don't necessarily open the window while it's there. Just put it to the side, maybe where there's a bit more moderate temperature control.
Exactly.
Do I sound like a plant expert or what?
You're picking this up super quickly.
Only because of you. Only because of you. Okay, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So that's airflow, right? What about humidity?
So humidity, plants generally, like if we imagine where this plant might come from. So it's a high humid area, and the plant will dry its foliage if it's in dry conditions.
Okay.
So there's an easy hack for that. So either you could get a mister and you kind of spritz your plant every now and again.
Yeah, or spritz me as well.
I mean, the alternative is to kind of create an environment of moisture around the plant.
Yeah.
So for that, you could use something like some gravel, like this.
Okay.
And either you put it inside the pot or on a drip tray outside.
Yes.
And you kind of just fill in some water, just so that there's some ambient kind of you don't need to drench it.
Yes.
And you place your plant on top, and it creates a kind of humid environment around the plant.
Oh, okay. Because the temperature in the room will cause the water to kind of evaporate in small quantities, but that humid effect then being created around the plant.
Exactly.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, you've spoken about so many things, especially like with regards to, let's say, this particular plant, which comes from a particular part of the world, the jungle, for instance, and this plant maybe not. So how do you figure out what your plant likes and what it needs to survive?
So you always got to start off with knowing the name of the plant.
Okay.
That's the starting point. That allows you to Google like care instructions and kind of figure your way out into what the plant likes.
Yes.
The alternative is you could jump onto Plantify's website. We have, basic care guidelines for all of the plants that we stock. And then we also have a library where we go into more depth in terms of the more specific care characteristics for people that really want to take it a step further.
Oh, awesome stuff. So what do we have here? What plants are these?
So this is a Calathea. So it's a Calathea sanderiana or pinstripe Calathea.
I like Calathea sanderiana. Quite cool, quite nice.
It's a really interesting plant because it kind of it's quite agile. So at nighttime it kind of flips its leaves up a little bit. During the daytime, they go down.
Seriously?
So it's a high curiosity value in terms of what it does.
You know what would be really cool? If you like a time-lapse camera mounted next to the plant, you literally see it do this at night and open up during the day. That's wonderful stuff. And that one over there?
So this is the caladium, and this is also fascinating. They kind of go dormant, in the wintertime, and in spring, they just shoot up.
Come alive.
Yeah, so you can see like all of these amazing, leaves unfurling, all this amazing foliage. And, if you do a little Google search for them, you'll find some with like enormous leaves.
Yes, I think I've actually seen that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've got a great opportunity right now for our viewers at home to win something really fantastic. What do you got?
So we've got an indoor starting toolkit, which has got some of the essential tools any budding gardener needs to take care of the plants.
Look at that.
A mister, a trowel, some shears and a rake, really to kind of take care of the essential requirements of your plant.
And then you can learn all the fancy terminology to name all those tools as well.
Totally.
Trowels. Thanks very much, Andreas. Always great to have you here with us. So listen up, if you want to win this fantastic indoor gardening set, visit our Expresso Facebook page and comment on the Plantify competition post by telling us which easy care plant from Plantify you would like to have in your home. And remember to follow the Plantify Facebook page to stand a chance to win as well. Terms and conditions can be found on our website, expressoshow.com.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's get you inspired now for some of what's better than a little summer refreshment, something that's ultimately cool. How about, and this sounds amazing, our Five Roses Passion and Pineapple Ice Lollies, because we know that nothing makes better iced tea than you and Five Roses. Now we're going to extend that to a beautiful, light and refreshing treat. Are you ready for that? After all of that jungle speak.
I thought you were going to say jungle fever.
That was a lot, man.
Yes.
Well, imagine you've got the heat now. You've just come out of the jungle. You need to refresh yourself with something that is going to blow your mind. We're loving the fruit infusions. Five Roses got some beautiful, and they kind of lend themselves, I think, to a great iced tea. But we've got the passion and pineapple. So, buddy, the first thing we need to do is steep. We got to steep away, buddy. So that's our boiling water. I'm going to ask you to put both of those. I think it's one or two. You can make it as strong as you want. Can you smell the fruit infusion there?
That's quite nice.
And then fill that up. We've got a straining jug here, which is a very useful thing to do, to use if you're going to be making iced tea particularly. So you want to let that steep for as long as possible. Obviously, let the water cool down. And this is what it's going to eventually look like. You can see we've got our little beaker of steeped. And the color really does come through. So, buddy, I'm going to ask you to be our official fruit jammerer. You're going to put as much fruit as we can jam in there. Now, it does all fit. I did a test run. So we've got some mango and we've got some pineapple. You want a bit of fiber. This is going to help with binding of the, look how beautiful that looks, of our ice lollies. But we want a lot of fruity flavor. It must be sweet.
That's perfectly measured.
Hey, look how
well done.
Yes.
Well done.
I love it when a plan comes together. And we can
some...
oh, no, don't put that in just yet.
Wait a minute.
Don't do it. So we're going to add that right in the end there
to kind of give it that
marbling effect. So we're going to put in our iced tea.
Lovely stuff.
That's about the perfect amount of moisture as well. And now we can lock up said ingredients.
Yeah?
Have a little bit of fun, man. And simple as that. It really is as easy as that. So you guys could be making this at home. You don't have to stick to just this variety of the Five Roses. There are a ton of amazing fruit infusions. Looks good, huh?
Yeah, it looks great.
You can make it as creamy, or you can leave a bit of the fruit fiber in there as well, just to make it really, really interesting. And
The
and there we
keyword to
have it,
SMS
dude.
is 5 roses to 33728. And if you want, you can leave it a little bit over as a smoothie for
Look
yourself.
at that. Hey, look how nice that looks. Okay, so here's the trick. So we're going to pour just a little bit.
Technique.
In each.
Watch it. Wow, that's good.
We don't want to kind of fill it too.
Oh, okay.
Just give yourself a little bit of play. And it smells fresh and beautiful.
It
man.
does smell incredible. Wish you could smell it at home. Yeah?
Just imagine right there.
You could have gone a bit longer on the blender.
On the blend. I think this would be nice. Give you a nice fruity.
Oh, because
fibers
at the
and
end,
vibes.
once it's frozen and you bite into it, you might get that little... Oh, hello, surprise.
Anyway, there's your smoothie. So
Now.
there's our coulis. Okay, so you're going to just marb a little bit of that in, mix it in, and we can mix it in.
So you're just layering it on the top?
Yeah, man, and then we'll mix it in with our little stalk once we've done it.
Wait, hello.
There we go.
How's that?
Yeah, perfect, man. Just keep it in when you stick the stick, and we can mix it around a little bit to create that beautiful marbling effect. 5 Roses tea, we know, comes a variety of these infusion flavors. We've got ruby orange, pretty cool, passion pineapple that we're using for this particular mix. Peach and apricot, very nice, and mixed berries, also very nice. You can add different types of your favorite fruit to this popsicle recipe. This is just the base idea. Very simple, very easy, where the fruit is the main thing. You're taking this very seriously.
I really am. I don't mess around when it comes
Not one of our passion fruit pieces gets left behind, eh?
The thing is, presentation is everything, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, now I've got a little bit left over here. So
And I
I'm
reckon we
gonna
can put
waste
the
it.
rest of the other one in a big tub and just make a whole big tub of it. Cool. And
Hold on, I'm not done.
Okay, go.
Hold on.
Wow, man.
Just give me a second. Okay. So
It is. It's making my mouth water. Okay, so we're going to try and endeavour to create the marbling effect now. There's a little stick for you. While you guys take a look at a bit of a recap of how we arrived at this end result.
Don't mess it up. Don't stir it.
I'm just trying to create...
You're stirring.
Because nobody makes better tea than you and 5 Roses.
Hey, and there you have it, your little pockets of deliciousness. Final touches in there, and that granadilla is going to seep down. You've got beautiful marbling there. Well done. I think we've created something special. The keywords, 5 Roses to 33728. We'll send you the full ingredients list, and you can be well on your way, man.
Yeah, and there's a competition as well.
Yes, indeed. You stand a chance of winning an incredible 5 Roses hamper so that you can have endless days of really good tea, whether you like it hot, whether you like it as an ice lolly. It's up to you. All you need to do is let us know on Expresso's Facebook page which recipe you create with 5 Roses tea. Inspire us a little bit. We've inspired you. Flip the coin. Competition ends 29th of October at 10 a.m. But you can find all the terms and conditions on expressoshow.com.
Would tea flavored ice cream work? Like if you took like a basic vanilla and then you mixed in tea with it, and then you like
spice vibes.
Yeah.
Because nobody makes better tea than you and 5 Roses.
Yeah, that's good.
Ultimately, I think you're onto something here. But the tea works, especially the fruity infusions. We love it. Thank you, 5 Roses. Should we bring Don in to give it a real...
Yeah.
Let's
Don
put
Vino,
our
the man,
hard
the
efforts
brother.
to work, buddy.
Lekker.
I'm going to pass you one of these guys. That's a granadilla lolly to make
Could you
chocolate
bite it the same
vanilla.
way you blow the saxophone?
Woo!
Can you do
Give
that?
it a try?
Yeah?
Go. Buddy, do you want to take it?
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Try.
Don't sound so surprised. Our team is good, man.
How's my technique on the...
You have to take your time with it, man. Take your time with it, you know.
That is good. That is really good.
It's like a fancy... icy cold treat. Don Vino is back with us on our Feel Good Breakfast show on this Tuesday morning. A man who is a master of this instrument right here. He's about to perform for you, Hey Jude. Calling all Beatles fans. Let's go. Don Vino, I was with you and I was doing the things, man, taking us back to the 70s, the Beatles. Don Vino making that saxophone sang. Thank you very much, man. We got 2 more performances from the man. Let us know what you thought about that. It was amazing.
Amazing indeed. It is just gone 8 o'clock time to run through those headlines one last time this morning. Let's start here in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa said yesterday that the government will soon announce a permanent chief executive for state-run Eskom after the struggling power utility reintroduced rolling blackouts last week. The crisis-hit utility, which produces more than 90% of South Africa's electricity, has been hobbled by technical and financial problems after a number of its generating units broke down. Ramaphosa said the government will do all it can to restore Eskom to viability and tackle its daunting level of debt. Eskom's latest power outages come just weeks before a credit review by Moody's. Then the Vaal Dam's level has plummeted to below 50%, the lowest level in 3 years. In a tweet, the city of Johannesburg has urged residents to use water sparingly. The levels are fast dropping due to the persistent heat wave, with current levels sitting at 49%. Meanwhile, Cape Town's mayoral committee member for water and waste, Xanthia Limburg, says residents have now exceeded the targeted level of water consumption with up to 657 million litres a day. Dams supplying Cape Town are currently sitting at 79.7% of storage capacity. Then on the international front, Russia says it is expecting African governments and businesses to come to the Russia-Africa Sochi summit with a solid package of proposals on expanding ties with the continent. The summit later this week follows Moscow's few years of a concentrated diplomatic, economic and military push as it seeks to deepen ties with Africa. Dozens of African leaders, including Presidents Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and Nigeria's Muhammadu Buhari, are expected at the top-level meeting, which will be co-chaired by Russian President Vladimir Putin and Egypt's Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Then further afield, Australia's biggest newspaper rivals have made a rare showing of unity by publishing redacted front pages in a protest against press restrictions. So they yesterday showed blacked out text beside red stamps marked secret. The protest is aimed at national security laws, which journalists say have stifled reporting and created a, quote, culture of secrecy in Australia. The government says it's backed press freedom, but that no one was above the law. The campaign yesterday by the Right to Know coalition was also supported by several TV, radio and online outlets. And finally, if you're a creative, introverted morning person, then odds are you prefer coffee over tea. Well, a new poll of some 2,000 Americans conducted by OnePoll examined the personality differences between people based on whether their first morning cuppa is coffee or tea. You'd expect coffee fans to be the buzzy, loud ones up at all hours. However, the results found that tea drinkers are more likely to be extroverted, adventurous night owls. Coffee drinkers are more likely to be introverts, morning people, always on time, prefer dogs, have 5 or more close friends than tea drinkers, and are single. Crazy. The majority of coffee lovers agree a cup of tea just doesn't cut it for them, as they find it to be too boring. You can decide where you sit on the tea versus coffee spectrum, and that's a wrap of our news for this morning. Let's get into the sport. Let's start it with Sevens news. Springbok Sevens coach Neil Powell included a host of familiar faces for his squad for the Athlete Factory Sevens tournament taking place in Chester on Friday and Saturday. The Stormers duo of Siabelo Senatla and Ranel and Bulls pairing of Roscoe Speckman and Dylan Sage will make their return to the Blitzboks fold. Sage, of course, captaining the squad. That also sees the return from injury for Justin Geduld and Zane Davids. Christy Grubela and Sylvan Davids also will be joining the team in England. That's straight from Kenya, where they played in the Tusker Safari Sevens over the weekend, finishing second there. On the netball front, the South African national netball team continued their dominant form at the African Netball Cup. It was after beating Kenya 71-36 at the Bellville Velodrome yesterday. So the Proteas, who are ranked number 1 in Africa, currently top the tournament table, claiming 5 victories from their 5 matches. Next, they will face off against Zambia. Will be looking for their 2nd victory in the tournament. And then finally, on to football. Our Monday night Premier League action saw Sheffield United claim a well-deserved 1-0 win over Arsenal at the Bramall Lane Stadium, with Lys Mousset scoring the winning goal on his first league start for Sheffield. This was the Gunners' 2nd loss in the competition and a huge victory for Sheffield. Now ended a run of 3 straight home defeats, but it does move them up to 9th on the Premier League table, into that top half of the table. The Gunners missing out an opportunity to go 3rd with that loss. And that's a wrap of your sports for this Tuesday morning.
Sorry, Mr. Richards, that last sports story didn't come across quite clearly. Anyway, time for a traffic report right now. In Gauteng, in Sebokeng, there's been a multi-vehicle accident on the N1 northbound after Old Johannesburg Road. The right lane is blocked, so please do approach with caution. In the Western Cape, in Constantia, on the N3 northbound, there's congestion between Constantia Main Road and the N2. The average traveling speed is 20 kilometers per hour with delays of up to 15 minutes. Taking a look at the Metro Rail Northern Line, there are defective points at Maitland impacting the Northern Line train service and a single line working between Voltomande and Vasco. Please allow for extended travel times of approximately 60 minutes extra this morning, but do travel safely. Right now, let's take a look at your weather watch. As always, we've asked you to share beautiful sunrise pictures with us, so thank you very much to our regular photographer, Ntokozo Makatini, for your sunrise picture from Johannesburg. Also, Liana Spendley for your sunrise picture all the way from Milnerton right here in Cape Town, as well as Abraham Grunling for your sunrise picture sent to us from Port Elizabeth. And lastly, Joan Cameron, the sunrise picture from Britannia Bay in the West Coast. We really do appreciate them. Please keep them coming. We love sharing them with everyone at the start of a brand new day. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the country. Polokwane between 14 and 24. A couple of showers today in Mbombela. Temperatures between 14 and 16. Heavy rainfall for Pretoria this morning. A low of 14 and a high of 31. Thunderstorms in Johannesburg today. A low of 12 and a high of 30. The highest temperatures in the country in Mahikeng between 16 and 36, while in Klerksdorp 17 and 34. Moving over to the Northern Cape in Kimberley. A low of 13 and a high of 32. Northwesterly winds of about 20 kilometers per hour blowing through Bloemfontein. A low of 12 and a high of 30. Heavy rainfall for Richards Bay today. Temperatures between 17 and 19, and a couple of showers can be expected in Pietermaritzburg with temperatures ranging between 11 and 13. Occasional rain today for Durban. Temperatures hanging around 17 and 18. Mthatha, a low of 7 and a high of 15. In East London, 13 to 16. Craddock, a low of 5 and a high of 24. A light drizzle for Port Elizabeth this morning, starting off temperatures of about 12 degrees and reaching up to a maximum of 18, while southwesterly winds of about 24 kilometers per hour blow through George today, and temperatures ranging between 11 and 18. The lowest temperatures in the country this morning: Sutherland, a chilly 1 degree Celsius, rising up to a maximum of 20. Cape Town between 11 and 21. Worcester, a low of 7 and a high of 24. In Springbok, temperatures will range between 5 and 25. And rounding things off in Uppington, a low of 11 and a high of 32. But no matter what the weather in your part of the country, here's to hoping you have a terrific Tuesday.
And thank you so much, Kat. I'm loving going through some of your social media comments, some words of inspiration, stories relating to breast cancer awareness and surviving the dreaded disease. And of course, after the break, we're going to be widening our net. The doctors are in the house on the couch. We're going to be talking about breast cancer, but within male patients specifically. We'll be focusing on that, but it's all part of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where we are aiming to raise awareness, ultimately to create, I think, break down some of that stigma, but get into early detection, make that be the proclamation. But you can join us after the break as we discuss breast cancer, specifically in men, and we continue to share your thoughts. So if you've got those inspirational stories of someone that you know, we've all been affected by cancer in some way or another, we'd love to hear those inspirational stories. You can let us know on our social media platforms. We'll see you now.
It's your time to shine with Orbit Gum and Presenter Search on 3, the Expresso edition. Follow the journey as the top contestants work through weeks of grueling challenges, fighting for one of 2 presenter spots on Expresso, all to be decided in a nail-biting finale. It's your time to shine with Presenter Search on 3, the Expresso edition. Wednesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Saturdays at 1, only on SABC3.
welcome back. You are live with Expresso. Thank you so much for tuning in. As we continue to talk health matters, and health really does matter on Medical Tuesday. So October, as we've said, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, an annual campaign to increase awareness of the disease. Breast cancer is the leading cancer affecting women in South Africa. And though breast cancer is most commonly thought of as a disease that affects women, breast cancer does occur in men. Male breast cancer is rare, but it is not impossible to contract. And here to tell us a little bit more about this particular kind of breast cancer in males, so please welcome specialist surgeon Sizwe Makgoba and head of clinical anatomy at Stellenbosch University, Dr. Karen Baichis. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This is, I was quite surprised, I'm sure like many people, to find out that there is breast cancer in males. How does it differ from breast cancer in women, and how common is it? I don't know who wants to weigh in there.
I'll probably take that one. It's very rare, as we've said. It's less than 1% of all breast cancers and less than 1% of cancers in general. In terms of how does it differ from males to females, well, the anatomy is pretty much the same, except in males you obviously don't have as much tissue and you don't have as much specifically glandular tissue. But the overall pathology is pretty much similar. And in fact, whenever we're looking at anything with male breast cancer in terms of your management, we take a lot of the pointers from the female breast cancer side of things.
Where does it begin? So what is the first kind of sign of onset of breast cancer within males specifically?
The commonest sign is, the first sign is usually a lump. That's the main thing.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Exactly the same, pretty much. And then there's other things as well that can happen. You can have a nipple discharge, or there's changes in the overall skin, or even in the shape of the breast itself. The only thing that makes it a little bit different is because males, you like to be seen and perceived as a strong person, so you never go and seek help whenever you see anything going on in the breast. So hence why in males they usually present later than in females. And there's a lot more awareness going around in terms of the female breast cancer and not as much in terms of the male breast cancer. So all of those factors, they contribute to the fact that whenever there's something going on in the male breast, then the males always seek help at a much later stage than in females.
So looking to offset that, then how important is early detection? And this, we stress every time Breast Cancer Awareness Month comes around, but it's something that we should be talking about all the time. How does early detection affect your success rate in treating breast cancer specifically?
So the aim in screening, and that's why we have screening programs in females, is to detect breast cancer way before it is palpable or that one can feel it, the patient themselves or a clinician can feel it. So the idea behind screening is for it to be screen detected, screen diagnosed, and then treated at a very early stage. Remember, the outcome is very much based on the stage at diagnosis and with complete treatment.
So where do men sit in this? Are we pushing driving men to go and be screened in this space when you're looking at a percentile that is that small, yet it does occur? What is the watchword there from the...
So there aren't specific screening programs for men because, once again, the incidence is so low. So for men, all that we can advise is self-examination, and as soon as you detect an abnormality, to seek help.
And then we treat it. We're going to continue this. We're going to look at some of the kind of risk factors that lead into causing cancer as well, but also maybe family history and those precursors, the predetermining factors that might play a role as well. Both doctors are going to stick around. We are talking about, yes, it is rare, but breast cancer within male patients, the treatment thereof, what we need to be doing to ultimately look after ourselves in that space where we can pick up with early detection. And we're also, again, reinforcing when it comes to ladies that screening as early as possible detection is what is going to win through on the day. But we're going to continue, I think, raising awareness around Breast Cancer Awareness Month after this.
And indeed, that is the entire goal, Graham, to look after ourselves. So while I enjoy a cup of Sis Princess's best grind, thank you very much for that, much appreciated. It's time for us to have a conversation with dietitian Shelly Meltzer, who's here to give insight on the kinds of lifestyle and possible diet changes that you can make, especially if you are at risk of vitamin B deficiency.
This morning, dietitian Shelley Meltzer joins us to give us some very valuable insights into practical ways, yes, that we can easily adopt for making those lifestyle changes, possible diet changes that can help to manage the risk of vitamin B deficiency. Shelley, welcome to the couch. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Maybe a good place to start would be what foods or food groups are very rich in vitamin B?
You find vitamin B is really across all the food groups, but if we're focusing on vitamin B1, B6 and B12, for B1 you'd want to really see that you're incorporating whole grains, that you're incorporating nuts, seeds and legumes as well as your organ meats. B6 you would also want to consider your fruits like bananas and chickpeas because those would be additional good sources. And B12, your animal foods are really rich, so your milk and dairy items would also provide you with vitamin B12 as well as your meats. And if you are excluding meat or animal products from your diet, it would be important to consider fortified foods like fortified soy beverages and rice milks, rice and coconut milks, for example, and nutritional flakes.
Are there situations where diet may not be the answer, and what would your advice be in that case?
Well, if you are limiting or excluding certain food groups out of your diet, if you are also not meeting your energy requirements, so as your energy requirements increase, so does your need for vitamin B increase. So in a case where you're on an extreme diet, then one would need to be cautious, as well as situations where perhaps you're not absorbing the vitamin B well enough from your diet. So perhaps if you're on certain medications, or if you've got an irritable gut for whatever reason, or if you've had
gastrointestinal seems to be a big factor,
thing as well. If you've had part of your gut resected.
What then is your advice if you find yourself in one of these high risk?
I think it's terribly important to actually get professional advice. If you're thinking of taking a concentrated supplement, to see a health professional, like a dietitian or like a doctor. A registered dietitian will really take time to assess your diet, to go through where the risks are, where the gaps are, your food likes and dislikes, as well as understand all the risks and benefits that are associated with supplements. For example, you could be misdiagnosing, treating a symptom that you think might be related to one of these vitamins, but could very well be related to something else. For example, like anemia, it might actually be related to iron, not to vitamin B. And I think the other reason to see a dietitian or a case would be professional athletes, because there may be risks in taking certain supplements, so they would really need to check out the legality and the safety of taking specific supplements.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to those of us wanting, even maybe in a busy lifestyle, I kind of apply to myself where I'm up incredibly early. I always feel tired because I'm always on the go and balancing a million different things. What tips do you have for me and other people like me who might be feeling that strain to eat right and keep that balance?
Probably the most important thing is to have a plan. And I think so much of us, if I had to say to you, do you know what you're eating for dinner tonight? I'd like to hear the actual answer. Do you know what I'm saying?
I could give you options. I haven't quite decided yet, but I've got a few options, yeah.
Okay, so one should have a plan. I think it's important to have that discussion if you're in a family situation, to collect and recipes and to file them, and then to use those to construct a menu, to use the menu to establish and recipes to establish your ingredients, and then go shopping according to that, so that you're not shopping at
You can see the balance there.
And then to also plan your preparation, perhaps to actually pre-prep a couple of things on a weekend. Your snacks can be done on a weekend. You can also prep a couple of things that you can use in different ways on a weekend, and that can really save you time.
Are there any massive do's and don'ts, things that you live by?
Well, I think when it comes to vitamin B, we've got to remember that it's a water-soluble vitamin. So although you need little amounts, you need to get it in daily. But you can also lose vitamin B through cooking inappropriately, because it's water-soluble, too much heat. So you would want to choose fresh. And when you do, and when you do cook, to use as little as water as possible to get the water boiling. Then pop your vegetables and food into the pot to keep the lid on. I sometimes refer to something like your chewing therapy. So you want things that are actually going to take you longer to eat. Yeah. And that your food should look vibrant and colourful as well. So you should have crunch and you should have colour crunch test. So those are some very important do's. In terms of the don'ts, I would say your storage of your fruits and vegetables and produce is very important as well. And another don't would be not to consume too much alcohol, because remember that actually will impact with the absorption. Yeah.
Thank you so much. These have been very practical tips, and I think the joy here is once you make these adjustments, not just for getting your vitamin B, but all of your vitamin intake, a better diet, better energy levels, you'll feel better about yourself. So much of that starts with your diet. But again, we have to reiterate, if you feel that you fall into a high-risk group, speak to a dietitian, speak to a medical practitioner, speak to your doctor before you just kind of blanket with one solution. Shelley, thank you so much. All of us hopefully have been able to, in some way or another, relate some tip that we can take back into our own homes to create a plan. It's about having that plan before you head into the shops, before you head into your kitchen, before you head to your dining room table to enjoy this beautiful, colourful food, very choosy food that you have chosen.
Well, stay tuned to your Feel Good Breakfast show, Expresso, on SABC3. And, of course, we'd love to hear from you. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, of course, we have many inspiring and motivating stories from survivors. And, of course, maybe you know somebody who has gone through it and has actually successfully managed the process. And you maybe have some tips that you'd like to share with us because you went through it yourself. Please do share those thoughts with us on our Expresso Morning Show SABC3 Facebook page. We would love to share them with the rest of the nation as we look towards celebrating survivors during this Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We'll see you very shortly on the other side of a very short break.
Bring home more than just memories of Mauritius with Club Med's all-inclusive holiday packages for families, friends and active couples. Choose from 3 Club Med Mauritius resorts and save up to 15% on your December 2019 booking with their early booking bonus. Extra bonus, kids under 12 stay free in Mauritius and fly free on Air Mauritius. Contact the agency by Club Med to book and visit clubmed.co.za for details.
Can we just check this out, please? Yep. Everything's pretty well.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back. As we continue our medical discussion, we are honing in on breast cancer within male patients this morning, all part of our coverage of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, often a very big push to, I think, educate women, break down some of those stigmas, but help prompt women to go for early screening. But it's not something we hear a lot about being exhibited within men. And here to chat a bit more about it, we've got specialist surgeon Dr. Sizwe Makoba and head of clinical anatomy at Stellenbosch University, Dr. Karen Baichis. Guys, thank you again for joining us. Learning a lot, because this is something that doesn't happen a huge amount. You said under 1%, which is really low. But with all cancers, I'm always very, I suppose this is something a lot of us ask, if
there is a history of cancer in our family, is that seen as an added risk factor when it comes to breast cancer, specifically within men? Are you able to track a lineage within the kind of family tree?
Yes, no, you definitely can. There is a link with family history, and specifically with first-degree family relatives. You know, first degree meaning it's your mom, your dad, or your siblings. So if any one of them, specifically if it was a male, you know, the risk increases quite exponentially as opposed to the general population. Yeah.
What are some of the other risk factors? Is it true to say that this is exhibited more within older people, guys, gentlemen in the age of 60 and above, exhibiting the majority? Where's the major risk factors outside of genes?
Yeah, no, the older you are, the higher your risk. In fact, most males that are diagnosed with breast cancer, they're in their late 50s, 60s, and sort of as the older you get, literally the higher your risk is. Some of the other risk factors it's similar to females as well. It's your estrogen exposure. So meaning that if you're taking drugs that contain estrogen, then your overall risk is a little bit higher than the general population. Then things like obesity as well, the more amount of fat, because estrogen is produced by some of the fat cells, so that increases your risk. If you've got things like liver disease, that can also increase your risk as well. Mainly, not so much inherently, but in terms of the fact that the liver breaks down estrogen. So if you've got a liver that's not working very well, then that breakdown of estrogen is not there. So then you have a higher amount of estrogen in the bloodstream. So that increases your overall risk in general. And obviously the genetic part of things, that's a big risk.
The genetic predisposition. What treatment options are available?
So the treatment for male breast cancer is very similar to female breast cancer. As Sizwe told you earlier, that the composition of the male breast is very similar to the female breast. So we basically apply the same principles. The subtypes or histological subtypes of breast cancer is very similar to females as well. So we use the same approaches to the male breast as we do for the female.
A success rate? Does it depend on what stage, again, that you're able to catch the cancer?
Yeah, so the prognosis is related to the stage of diagnosis, but also very much to the treatment employed and completion of treatment.
All right, so we're going to continue talking a little bit more about, I think, the stigma that's attached to it and what role that might play when it comes to breast cancer within males. But it is something that is affecting men out there, and it's about being educated, and I think we're going to continue to broadcast that message when it comes to women during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that it is absolutely vital that you go for early screening, that early detection is a big, big part of being able to fight this dreaded disease. And we know that breast cancer affects the most, in terms of cancer affecting women in South Africa. It's a massive, massive cause for concern, but an opportunity this month for us to beat that back and educate and empower ourselves. So we're going to discuss a little bit more about the stigma related to male breast cancer awareness and how that could be standing in your way for receiving effective treatment or even diagnosis thereof. But we're going to continue our discussion in just a moment.
All right, well, listen, Don Vino's busy getting himself mic'd up because he's been messing around out here. I actually asked you an interesting question. Does your saxophone or your saxophones have names?
Yeah, this one is called the Cannonball.
Cannonball?
Cannonball.
How come?
That's the brand name.
Oh, no, man. I'm asking, did you give it a name?
Oh, no.
You need to give your saxophone
I call this
name.
my second wife.
Your second wife. That's a good way to... hopefully your first wife agrees, okay? But Don Vino's in the studio. He's entertaining us on this Tuesday morning. Allow your mind to wander. Roll back the years a little bit. Listen to this classic by Luther Vandross. Oh, yeah. So amazing. Yes, Don Vino, make that sax sing. Make that sax sing. So if I want to wake up with some Don Vino, what do I do, man? Is there an album out there? Is there a compilation? Lead me to the waters so I can drink, sir.
Oh, let me catch my breath first.
Catch your breath, you know. Making the sax sing is Sydney and Alkeman's Broeknie, basically.
Well, they can get my album on iTunes. It's called All the Way.
It's called All the Way.
All the Way.
Beautiful stuff, man.
And check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere.
Don Vino, making that sax sing. Beautiful stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed that very much. Let us know what you thought about that performance on our Expresso Morning Show SABC3 Facebook page. Don Vino, ladies and gentlemen.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You are still live with Expresso. Just under half an hour of the show left to enjoy. Of course, left for us to inform you, and we are focused on Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the whole of October. Today, looking at breast cancer in males. Really interesting discussion. Doctors, thank you so much for joining us. Before we went to the break and a beautiful musical performance, we were talking about the treatment options that are available, and maybe, Karen, you can weigh in and expand on that a little bit, and get specific with the kinds of treatments. You said the same as women, but what are some of those treatments, and what are some of the side effects?
Okay, so the treatment, there are various treatment modalities available in breast cancer, of which not the first, but one of it is surgery, which Sizwe and I do. Chemotherapy, radiotherapy, what we call endocrine treatment, which is for estrogen-sensitive tumors, and also biological therapy. So not all patients require all of these modalities. For example, if we have to speak a little bit in detail, for example, patients with locally advanced breast cancer, which often men do present with, they would get chemotherapy up front to try and decrease the size of the tumor to facilitate surgery treatment for them.
Let's talk about the stigma, Sizwe, because I would imagine it goes through various phases, particularly in the detection phase, where men are less likely to be checking their breasts for lumps, which is something that we probably need to be. I think as men, we need to be checking our bodies regularly, just especially as we get older. But what are some of the stigmas that you've come across attached to this specifically?
Graham, the stigma issue comes up quite a lot because majority of patients that I do see are actually African black males. And now, in general, as an African culture, males are proud people.
Strong.
So they're strong and they're supposed to be, the person who's protecting the family. Now, if you get sick, now that becomes a huge thing. So, and that's one of the biggest problems because they obviously don't go and seek medical attention at very early on. And some of the other things that that comes up quite a lot is people have been bewitched, and they are now turning into women, those sort of things. So it can be actually quite challenging to treat males, and that's why they present so late.
Going through the treatment process itself, does that continue to drive home that stigma? And maybe you can speak from your personal experience in the spaces, because you're being treated as a woman would be treated. Do you think that feminization, if that's even a word, continues through that process? How do you manage that?
I think once we've made a diagnosis, it's easier to accept. And what we do in the treatment, we don't just treat just the person only, we get the whole family involved. And if you've got a good support structure, it makes it that much more easier to accept and to also to continue with your treatment strategies. So, as we progress from surgery to, to other treatment modalities, then that stigma sort of gets a little bit better, and our patients become more aware, and we encourage them to go and read a little bit more. So it's seen, as a disease that's actually pretty much treatable and curable, and not something that's going to turn one into a woman, or that should be, that should be shied away from.
Well, hopefully we're addressing that in some part today. When we look at Cancer Awareness Month, I think a big question is, for many of us, is where our cancer research is. This is treatable, this is manageable, not many cancers are. Where do we stand in terms of breast cancer treatments and awareness? Do you feel like we're winning the fight?
Slowly but surely. I think breast cancer is one of the most researched in the scientific field, and there are constantly new advances and new developments, especially, and I have a very personal interest in it, individualized care or personalized care, so that you hone in the treatment and the plan for that patient specifically and their type of disease, not as just an umbrella in terms of it is breast cancer, because each breast cancer is different and should be approached differently for each patient.
Just like each patient is completely different. I've got to say, Doc, you taught him well. Taught him well. They have a very special relationship that goes way back. But thank you to both of you. I've learned a huge amount. I think hopefully gentlemen out there are thinking about the possibilities of breast cancer. We know it's not something that you want to think about, but it's something that we all do need to think about, especially as we get older. That hot zone, as we progress from 60 and older, you are at a higher risk. It's about educating and empowering yourself. Learn about your body, man. Learn about your body. Check your body out. You know if something is irregular. If you pick up a lump, don't wait. Go and see a medical practitioner. Go and see a specialist and do it right now.
Well, great conversations there, Graham. So good to be informed and to gain the insight of experts on these matters, especially as we look towards October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're celebrating the stories of survivors, and we've loved hearing your inspiring stories on our social media pages, especially on Expresso Morning Show SABC3, which is where we take our main focus right now, and some great stories that have come through. Take a look at this one. Maureen Wheatley says, I had lumps a couple of years back. I had a biopsy done. Thank God everything is clear. Same with my granddaughter, same procedure. She goes for yearly checkups. And I also had two friends who had a mastectomy, and they are doing fine. Thank you very much for sharing that story with us. Denise Ninaidi says, morning. My mom's best friend had breast cancer. I watched her when I was young. I watched her lose her hair, lose weight, and get sick. But through it all, she triumphed and won the cancer battle. That is incredible to hear, and we are so, so glad that there was victory, there was triumph in the struggle against breast cancer. And thank you for sharing that with us, Denise. Another story here. Coming through from Michelle Locke Barnard saying, I'm a 5-year survivor. So much has changed in my life and I've learned many life lessons on this journey. Wouldn't have been able to do this without my faith and amazing family and friends. Life is short. Don't sweat the small stuff. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Michelle. We really do appreciate it. Please keep those comments coming if you have a story to share with us, perhaps some inspiring words as a survivor, or maybe you know someone in your family, in your friendship circle who has survived cancer, breast cancer more specifically, and we would love to hear from you so we can carry on sharing the stories of survivors and encourage the fight against breast cancer and the notion that there is a way through this with the support of family and friends and a good community around you. We all can help fight breast cancer together.
So as we continue our efforts to raise awareness, ultimately wanting to just get, even if one woman out of our chats today goes for early screening so we can get more early detection, we are winning that battle. But breast cancer awareness really has afforded some amazing opportunities to get the word out there. And we have been shining a light, obviously, on breast cancer awareness today specifically, but it goes for the entire month. And the next group of phenomenal women are doing this in the most fantastic and quite unique way. The beginning of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month saw the reveal of probably the most gorgeous bra ever made, almost entirely of Rooibos tea bags. You can see it right in front of us now. Joining us to share why Rooibos, first of all, was chosen and exactly how this one-of-a-kind garment will help shed light on breast cancer and breast cancer awareness is Renee Wolfhard from the SA Rooibos Council, Nasiha from DADA, from the Cancer Association of South Africa, and Isla Lovell as well. She is the owner of lingerie retailer Storm in an A to G Cup, to share more of this incredible story of how this all came about and explain to us why and how this came about and why it's creating such a storm in a teacup, if you will. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a privilege being here. Thanks very much. Yeah, you know, I think breast cancer is something that's everybody knows about. It affects so many people, so many ladies across South Africa, you know, right across the broader spectrum. And the South African Rooibos Tea Association has had a long-standing relationship with cancer. And we just found that, you know, breast cancer is really something that we'd like to focus on this year, as you say, shine the light on breast cancer. And that's why we've decided to work with this wonderful opportunity and creating a bra made out of tea bags.
Yeah. So, Isla, when you receive this brief that you need to create this this bra, what goes through your mind, and how do you even start conceptualizing where you're going to begin?
That is a very good question, because that's exactly what we thought. Where are we going to begin? And it was actually quite fun, because in the end you've got to really be creative. You've got to think out of the box. Tea has so many different aspects. So where are we going to use the tea itself? Where are we going to use the tea bags? Is it going to be just an aesthetic thing, or is it something that's going to be worn? So we played with all these different ideas, and we played with a whole lot of ideas of what we could use. We looked at using the packaging. We looked at just using the tea itself and sort of creating something using resins, the tea bags. And as you can see, we've gone with the tea bags themselves, which were very kindly donated by the public.
Okay.
So these are actually used tea bags. So we did a whole campaign on getting the public to actually donate the tea bags, and with that they sent notes of hope, which will hopefully later be framed and put into the oncology department as well.
Well done.
And so these tea bags themselves, you know, come from a special place. People wanting to send in hope, so we use them. And you know, working with the Rooibos tea has been fantastic, because the actual coloration from the tea itself, once it's seeped into the tea bag, gives it a beautiful pink as well as sort of a brownish sort of hue.
Beautiful
and then with
autumn
that,
hues. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it just gave us inspiration, and you can see how the color changes, and that's depending on how much tea had seeped into the bag, and then we added a little bit of pigmentation. It gives us gorgeous color. I mean, to me, it almost looks like petals, delicate rose petals.
It's like a potpourri, this ombre effect. I mean, it really is. It's a beautiful work of art, and worthy of an auction that'll hopefully bring about a really good take, because we know that that money is going to be used very wisely and effectively at the moment. Now, Sia, talk us through the auction element of what's going to happen here, and where will the funding go?
Okay, sure. So in terms of the auction itself, basically our goal is just to get what it deserves in terms of how much it's worth in terms of the effort and the time that's gone into it.
The personalisation,
yes,
that really is
exactly.
the real
So
value there,
the funds essentially will be going to health education and awareness. Like you said, there's such a big focus on cancer education and awareness now, which is amazing, because we're trying to look at how can we achieve early detection. Within South Africa, the numbers are, 1 in 27 women, that's our statistics, that's our risk of being diagnosed. That means it's anyone in this room. And cancer is getting younger. So what we do is, so that's where, part of what I do in service delivery, we go out from psychosocial support to one-on-one counseling of someone who's been diagnosed to establishing support groups. One of our support groups drank rooibos tea to, donate to the bra. And the education and awareness, part of it is, for example, teaching young women how to do a monthly self-examination to get them into the habit so that if there is something that changes, some sort of abnormality, they would be able to pick it up, as early as possible. That's what we're trying to work towards, early detection, essentially.
Yeah, and we said every time we have this conversation, I think we should open with that prefix, with that word. Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, so much creative hard work has gone into this beautiful masterpiece creation, which I think would be a great kind of prize to have for somebody who's a champion of the fight against breast cancer. So, how much are you hoping to raise in the auction? Put it out there, because I want everyone who's got their sights on this to go, yes, I will be the one that puts
down
up
your
that
reserve
price.
right
There we
now.
go.
Yeah, bank it right now.
That's the million dollar question.
Yeah, there we go.
Great answer. $2 too.
Great answer.
$1 million would be good.
We've both hosted a lot of these auctions. That's not unheard of, eh?
Put it out there for us, please.
We want people to really dig deep, go down into their pockets, and really, it's such an awesome cause. Dig as deep as what you can possibly can to support this. I mean, other bras have auctioned at big dollars, $50,000, $20,000, Marilyn Monroe's bras. So, there's opportunity.
I love this fact that there are so many stories interwoven into this as well. Every woman that's had a sip of tea that's kind of poured their love into the creation of this. But there is something about the journey that you've been on. I can tell all of you kind of go into your inner space where you're thinking about it. How has this journey changed the way that you perceive the battle against cancer? Maybe Ida, for someone who's...
Well, to be honest with you, I've actually seen a lighter side of things.
Really?
A funner side. Obviously everyone sees breast cancer as very serious. Of course it is, but it's been a fun journey with Rooibos and the Cancer Association. Everything's been so light-hearted and so fun, and bringing back, something so the tea bags themselves are so delicate, and life is so delicate, but there's such a fun element to this as well. And I think, working, doing this project and working with the lovely ladies that I've come across and had to work with, it's just made it so much lighter, if I can say that, and I think we've touched quite a few people. We know people brought into the stores, they brought the tea bags, and with that, the little notes that came with, or the way it was packaged, it was, and how each person, one lady dedicated it to her mum. So each person has brought something to it, and just made me think to myself, wow, there is so much spirit out there and so much hope, and this is just, I think, bringing such a fun, most women hopefully wear bras, and so this touches each and every one of them. So it's something that most ladies can relate to. Of course, men do have breast cancer too, and they love bras too. So what a fantastic thing!
Beautiful.
Thank you for getting that conversation.
Well said. Heaven knows we need a bit of lightness in this world. And what a truly original way to raise awareness for the education needed to ensure that less women die from this awful disease. So to keep up to date with the Rooibos bra, visit sarooibos.co.za, and to keep abreast with the great work that the Cancer Association of South Africa has done, then you can head on over to cancer.org.za.
Go and bid, man. Go and bid.
This is Season 9 of Tropica Island of Treasure. Welcome to Curacao in the Caribbean. Buy Tropica and come find your smooth fame and fortune. WhatsApp the keyword TIOT9 to 063 921 8395 for audition details. And stand a chance to win your share of a smooth 1 million rand. Grab a Tropica for details and see you in paradise.
The more Tropica you buy, the more chances you have to win hundreds of thousands of prizes. Tropica, nothing smoother.
Welcome back to it live, large and in charge, your feel-good breakfast show, talking all things smooth fame and fortune, which awaits you, of course, on the island of Curacao. How? Well, enter for Tropica Island of Treasure Season 9 if you want to win a shared R1 million grand prize alongside your celebrity partner. And of course, along with that as well, you get to visit the island paradise that is Curacao in the Caribbean. Well, you're wondering how many days are left to enter? Because time is running out for hashtag TIOT9. Let's see how many days are left. You've got about 10, 9, yes, 9 days. That's exactly it. 9 days left for you to enter this wonderful competition. So go ahead and enter now to star in this season of Tropica Island of Treasure, which is hosted all the way in Curacao. And all you need to do for Tropica Island of Treasure is WhatsApp the keyword TIOT9 to 063-921-8395, and we'll send you all of the entry details. Come on, what are you waiting for? It could be your chance to win smooth fame and fortune, and as I said, a shared R1 million grand prize alongside a celebrity. Now remember, entries for TIOT9 officially close in 9 days, so don't delay. And if you're looking for terms and conditions which apply and more information all around the competition, you can find that on the website tropica.co.za.
All right, so we've been loving having Don Vino in the house this morning because it seems like he's loving what he's doing more than he ever has before. So cool to have you here during such a hot streak. We know it's been an amazing year. So thank you for blessing us with your talent, my friend. We're going to let you, dude, you have open door policy when it comes to you. So we're going to pop now a little bit with a bit of pop. This one is Lost in Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Vino, it's all yours.
Espresso Morning Show, made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.
Don Vino!
Good job, man.
That's that saxy music. That's saxy music. You know what it is.